that many times we relax and we compromise on our religious observance. So we justify, and somehow in the back of our minds, we believe our excuses will be accepted in the court of heaven, that we're going to withstand the test of Beit Din Shel Ma'ala. And it could be that, by the way, it could be a good excuse. It could be that you do have good excuses. And you could tell yourself, Hashem, the reason I could not be religious was because I was so concerned about what people will think about me. I'm just very concerned about what people might say. It really bothers me. After all, it's very difficult to work against, the tide, and people are we're very impressionable people. What people do think about us does affect us. So Hashem says, okay, listen, maybe, you didn't live up to your expectations. So you had a good excuse. Maybe I'm going to go easier on your judgment. But Hashem says, all it takes is one time in your life where you prove yourself wrong. And all of a sudden, when it comes to other things, you don't care what people think about you anymore. And you're willing to go ahead and do whatever you want. But when it comes to mitzvot, all of a sudden you care about what people think about you. So make up your mind. What kind of person are you? Are you the type of person who really cares about what people think? Or are you the type of person who doesn't care what people think? Because it seems like you only care what people think when it comes to religion. But when it comes to your other endeavors, whenever it comes to other things, all of a sudden you are all loose and you don't care what people think and you do whatever you want. This could also be applicable to people who, when it comes to spending money on religion, and comes to court, and now they have to buy themselves an etrog, and they say, what? For a lemon I have to spend $30, $50, $60? I could buy this lemon for $1. What am I spending so much money on a lemon? Or this is so much money. This is already highway robbery. They're taking advantage of me. I don't like to be gypped. I'm not going to go ahead and invest so much money into an etrog. And then comes Pesach and it says matzah for $30, $40, $50, $60. I'm not going to spend money on the matzah. And the same guy who's complaining about getting gypped and he doesn't want to go ahead and spend extra money, that same guy, you'll find him in a restaurant spending, $30, $40 on sushi, on some rice and some avocado. And for that, he has all the money. For that, he's willing to spend money. For a little bit of, the pasta, he's going to go ahead and spend $30 for pasta that probably costs like 30 cents. So for that, he's not getting gypped. For that, it's okay with him. He's fine with that. But when it comes to religious matters, when it comes to spending money on mitzvot, suddenly he becomes very cheap. And he comes and he says, what do you mean? How can I spend so much money? Why are they taking advantage of us? This is not fair. I'm not going to spend more than this amount of money. Suddenly he becomes very careful with what he wants to spend his money on. I'm reminded of a story about a man who, his son's bar mitzvah was coming up. So he had to get tefillin for his son. So he calls the sofer, and the sofer goes ahead and he starts working on the tefillin for his son. And he really did a really good job. And he tells the guy, okay, this is going to be the price for the tefillin. So he says, what? For tefillin? What is this? Some parchment, some paper? You wrote something down? I'm going to spend so much money on it? I'm not going to spend so much money on the tefillin. And he starts to hackle with him and he starts to bargain with him. And he literally chisels him down. And the guy barely gets any, he makes pennies off of him. I mean, the tefillin, which should have been worth $1,000 or who knows how much, he ends up getting pennies from him. So he says, listen, I'm not going to judge him. Maybe he doesn't have the money. He has other expenses after all, And the guy's complaining over there, listen, I have my own expenses, I have to pay for gas, and I have to pay for this, and everything is going up the prices, and you want me to come along and I'll spend money on this. And the same guy who's talking like this to the sofer, when it comes to buying flowers, and he comes along and he comes to the florist and he says, I want the best flowers. They say, listen, we have 3 levels of flowers. Which level would you like? The 3 levels. Let me see the 3 levels you have. The first level here, the second level, third level, the top-notch one. He says, no, I want even the 4th level. Give me the 4th level. Sir, that's going to be very expensive. I don't care. I'll pay double the amount for the flowers. And then the sofer goes ahead and he finds out from the florist that this guy was willing to spend so much money on flowers. It's going to wither, but he can't spend money on a tefillin, a mitzvah that's going to last with his son for the rest of his life. That's going to grant him eternity. But he's not willing to do that. Why? Because his heart doesn't allow him to. So he's going to come to Shamayim one day, such a guy, and he's going to say, Hashem, what do you mean? They were gypping me. Hashem's going to say, they were gypping you? They were taking advantage of you? For that you couldn't spend money, but when it came to going to spending money on the flowers, and going to spending money on your sushi, and when it was going to spend your money on your lasagna, and other things that you were buying, that wasn't they weren't taking advantage of you over there. That you were told you were fine. You were completely okay with spending your money. But when it comes to spiritual matters, all of a sudden you became very, very stingy. So therefore, a person has to be very consistent in life. That's the lesson to us. You have to be very consistent. You can't be one way over here in religion, but then another way somewhere else. If this is your excuse for God, so make sure your excuse is used all across the board. Because Hashem just needs to find one place in your life where you contradict yourself, and Hashem says, listen, if you claim to be so, how come over here you weren't so?